if you're not here for demystifying business funding, you need to be somewhere else. Right, let's just get this moving, he says. There we go. Welcome, everybody. I have to say, this is probably the grandest room I've ever done a presentation in. My name is Robert Laurie. I'm a business advisor from Backing Essex Business. We are a free business advisory and support service. We are funded by both Essex County Council and a collection of district councils that make up the North Essex Economic Board. And I'll have a little bit more details at the end on that. Because this is a 20-minute presentation, I'm not going to take any Q&As. If you'd like to speak to me afterwards, you'll find all of us on the team down in the business support area in the salon further down in the hall. But I just want to make sure that I get through everything that I would like to talk to you about today, and so it gives you the opportunity to understand what is available to you. Right, so in terms of business finance, a recent study that was undertaken by the British Business Bank found that 60% of small businesses just didn't understand what was available to them in terms of support and how to apply. 8% of them didn't understand where to go to and needed some guidance in terms of the right finance, and 33% found that they often came up against a decline and that they had a perception that there wasn't the appetite to support their business. Hopefully, from what I will go through today, we'll be able to help create the appetite for you to consider support that you might need for your business. So the very first thing I want to cover, and it's the biggest thing that I get asked whenever I get to meet a business, is, please, can I have a grant? And young Oliver, unfortunately, there does seem to be an assumption out there from businesses that they are due a grant. And I think this is probably a fallover from the COVID period when grants were readily available. Unfortunately, that is now no longer the case. And with the Chancellor chopping down the magic money tree that she probably will announce at the end of the month in the budget, I suspect there won't be much grants going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. So the grants that are still available, and I've done this district by district, and this is important if you fall into one of these districts in terms of where your business is based, then it is available for you to consider. If you're not based in one of those districts, then unfortunately there isn't anything available for you at the moment. As you can see, there's not a huge amount. The one I have missed off, unfortunately, I did find out yesterday, tendering, if you're based in tendering, they also do have a high street premises grant available, but there's not a huge amount of money left in that pot. All of those funds, once they're spent, that will be it. And they will be closing certainly before the end of March next year, because that is when the grants that were provided by central government have to be spent. So as I say, there's not a huge amount available left. So if you're not in those areas, then unfortunately there won't be any other grants. That said, if you are working on a project that is significant, it may be on research and development of a new product, new technology, there is something called Innovate UK, which is a national grant provider. I'm not going to say much about them because there is a separate speaker today from Innovate, and I don't want to steal their thunder. They also have a stand down in the area down the back, so if you do need to or want to speak to them, please go and approach them as well, or we can make an introduction to you for them. Right, so typically, for most businesses, their first port of call will be their bank. Now, I'm a retired bank manager, 35 years. Most of you probably of the age that you can remember when you had a bank manager and then when there was a branch on the high street. These days, unfortunately, it tends to be all online, and therefore it'd be a case of having to apply via the bank's websites. The first one I'd like to just cover, and overdrafts. Not all banks now are providing overdrafts. A lot of the online banks don't have that facility whatsoever. So if you are going to approach your bank, do have a look at first of all to see what is available in terms of their services. But in terms of overdrafts, it is there for your short-term cash flow needs. And when we say cash flow, that's money coming in, money going out, and therefore you should be seeing your balance going up and down as and when you get money coming in and money going out. And obviously, if there is a shortfall, that's when you go overdrawn. It is there, as I say, in terms of a short-term need. There is no fixed repayment periods on them at all, but it is not a long-term borrowing solution. If you are constantly overdrawn, both personal and business, something's up. There might be an exception to the rule, but typically something is wrong and an overdraft facility is not the right vehicle for your business. The business loans. Now that is the purpose for using long-term funding to buy equipment, stock, startup costs, whatever it happens to be, where you can spread that cost over a long period. It will have a monthly fixed repayment, typically 1 to 5 years. Interest rates, typically at the moment, banks are charging between 10 to 12%. What I would say is have a look around. You don't have to borrow from your existing bank. You can look at somebody else's and see what interest rates they're offering. If you need to read the terms and conditions just to make sure that you understand what it is you're signing up to. First of all, what is the interest rate? Is it fixed or is it variable? And when I say variable, that means that the interest rate can go up and down, as it does with base rate. If it's fixed, obviously it's fixed for the entire period. Does it allow you to repay the loan early without penalty? I recently helped a local business in Chelmsford that was dealing with Barclays. They assured him that he could pay it off early without any penalty. I had a look at the terms and conditions he'd been offered and found that there was a big fat fee that he would have to pay if he paid it off within the 5 years before the term finished. So really do make sure that you read the terms and conditions before signing. You may also be asked, especially if it is a limited company that you're borrowing through, that a personal guarantee might be required. And again, just make sure that you understand that you personally then are on the hook. If your business can't pay, then you may have to pay it as well. So those are the two typical lending solutions that you'd get from your high street bank. Of course, though, there isn't just the high street banks anymore. There are lots of online business lenders out there, such as Funding Circle, Capify. They are very quick in terms of decision making. It is online. It will be looking at your credit score, credit history. Any information that they can get hold of will determine the decision. Typically, their interest rates are higher than the high street banks. But they will have perhaps a broader range of acceptability in terms of who they will lend to. So, as I say, if you get declined by your high street bank, then perhaps have a look at Funding Circle or Capify or any of the others. Issues, though, to consider before borrowing. Can your business afford the repayments? And that is the one thing that I keep coming up against, even when I was a bank manager and had customers that I looked after for many years. You really do need to understand, is your business producing enough profit and cash flow to meet those costs going forwards before you get yourself tied up in a knot? The borrowing decisions, as I say, are going to be based around your credit score and your track record. So if you know that you haven't got a good track record, both either personally or business-wise, then it may harm you if you do try to apply for a loan, because if it's declined, that will get registered against your credit score as well. When you are looking to borrow, please be specific. The amount of times that I've been asked, how much can I have? Well, how long's a piece of string? you need to know how much you need, and that will be the project cost, or it might be an item that you're purchasing. What is it funding? Have all the information available to a lender so they can understand what's going on. How's it going to help your business purchasing an item or funding an expansion or whatever? And they say, how is it then going to be affordable? Is the item that you're looking to do going to produce more income, more profit to the business? It's all of this extra information that a lender really would need from the outset, and it gives you more of a chance of getting something approved. The other thing is make sure you have some latest accounts available. The amount of times that I've spoken to small businesses over the last couple of years haven't got a clue whether they're making any money, they don't understand their turnover, they just go, oh, well, my accountant will deal with that. No, it's your business. You need to know how your business is performing. So do have your annual accounts. Make sure if they're a limited company that they're registered at Companies House, or if you're a sole trader, again, just have them available, and also any management accounts, i.e. how you're performing in your current trading year. And you can get that off of Xero or Sage, QuickBooks, etc. If you're using those kind of systems correctly, you should be able to pull off information that tells you how your business is going. And as a good business owner, you should need to know that anyway. And again, don't be surprised if you get asked about personal income and your assets, because again, if they are thinking about taking a personal guarantee behind you, then it'll be a case of they need to know that kind of information in terms of what is your wealth, can you afford the repayments if your business can't. So, for businesses that have recently started, the majority of the lenders are not going to be interested in you, and so you're falling through the cracks. This is where there is a government scheme under the British Business Bank, which we're accredited to work with, in terms of the startup loan scheme. Some of you may or may not have heard of this before. This is for businesses that have been trading for less than 3 years, and I say they are typically the businesses that don't have an established track record, perhaps are not profitable at that point because they're still finding their feet. And that is where a traditional lender is not going to be interested in helping you. Now, the startup loans range from £500 up to £25,000, and that is available for both sole traders and also partnerships and limited companies. It is, however, a personal loan to you as an individual. You are responsible for repayment of that loan regardless of how your business does, and that's something that I do wish to highlight, because I say some business owners come to us and think that the loan is in the company name if it's a limited company. Other thing to consider, if it is a limited company or a partnership, each of the partners and or directors, up to a maximum of 4 people, can apply. So if you're all asking for the maximum of 25,000, that could take you up to a total of 100,000, which would be a really useful amount of money for a startup business. Repayments up to 5 years. There is no early exit repayment. You can pay it back off as quickly as you like without any penalty. The interest rate is fixed at 6%. And I mentioned that the banks are charging between 10 to 12%, so you can see it's typically half the rate. There's no setup fee. You'll find that with traditional lenders, there will be an arrangement fee to pay. But also, there is a team that we have, and also some of the other accredited providers. We have teams there to help you with the application. You do need to write a small business plan. You will need to provide any financials in terms of if you've been trading before, but also the forecasts going forward. How's this loan going to help your business? And if it is approved, then you get 12 months free mentoring as well. For businesses that are looking for larger sums, but also if you are a business that has been declined from one of the traditional lenders, there is also the growth guarantee scheme. This, I say, is between 25,000 and 150,000. 6 years repayments, but as you will notice, the interest rate is much, much higher, 15%. The reason for that is these loans are traditionally given to businesses where there is significantly more risk that they may default and not pay back, hence the interest rate. But if you've already been declined by another lender, then it may be an option for you to consider. So by all means, come and have a chat to us about that. It is a slightly more complicated process, but we will hold your hands through it. You will need historic and also your future financial forecast led. With this, you're dealing with somebody that will make, it'll be a physical human being will make the decision. It's not being done by AI based on your credit score or anything like that. This is old school lending, so as I say, it may be a solution potentially for you. Other potential lending, especially if you're looking to purchase perhaps a vehicle or equipment, is asset finance. As you can see, lots of different types. Finance lease, where you're paying a fixed monthly sum. You're responsible for maintaining that asset, and you will then own it outright once that period of repayment is finished. Or there's obviously contract hire, which you will all have heard about, where you're just paying a monthly rental and you hand it back at the end of the term. Operating leases, slightly more complicated, but if you have some specialist equipment, especially if you're a manufacturer, engineering company, etc., big piece of kit that you would like, again, you can have a monthly rental sum to pay for all that equipment and then again end up handing it back at the end. You may also have some equipment that you've purchased already and paid for it in cash or had other finance on it and that's all cleared, but you still want to get some cash. You can do a refinance on some assets. There are companies out there that will look at it. So if you had a fairly new van or car or whatever, they will look at doing a percentage amount of the value against that and advance that to you, and then you get back up into sort of the finance lease of it, as it were. Some other solutions that may or may not apply to you. Invoice finance and factoring, which you might not have heard of before, but if you are a business that is producing goods, services, and you're providing a period of credit to your clients, and that may well be 30, 60-day credit terms, typically to somebody like the big superstores, Tesco's and Sainsbury's, etc. They typically have all their clients on 60 to 90 days. You're delivering your goods, you're issuing your invoice, and then you're having to sit back and wait to be paid. Well, an invoice finance provider will, as soon as you have issued your invoice, give you between 75 and 90% of the value of that invoice. So you've got your cash immediately to help you with your cash flow to go forwards. You repay the invoice finance company once your client has paid you, and you will then get charged interest and fees for the amount that you've borrowed over that time period. You can do it both what's called confidential, so i.e. your client doesn't know that you've got finance in the background, or you can use the finance provider to run your credit book for you, and they will chase people that are overdue, etc. But in that way, your clients will know that you're using someone. This solution really is only applicable to somebody that's issuing lots of invoices and is providing credit terms. If you're just doing a couple of invoices a month, that is not for you. It is expensive, but it is a solution if you are a big invoice issuer. Right, okay. Quickly then, in that case, the merchant cash advance is one that we are seeing quite recently. So if you are taking debit and credit cards, your card provider might offer you a loan, and you're then taking repayments from every card transaction that you're making. I've got a big warning about this. Typically, they're taking 10-20% of each transaction sum. So again, it's suddenly 10-20% of your cash flow that you were receiving that you're not anymore. Business credit cards might be another solution, assist your cash flow. But as Martin Lewis says, please make sure that you repay at the month end, otherwise interest is very expensive. Very, very quickly, investment, equity investment. Friends, family might be able to invest in your business and you give them a share of it. Or there are professional organisations out there where you can pitch for raising equity finance. Typically, they're going to be looking for 10 times the value of what they are putting in, and that will come through your business being sold typically within 3 to 5 years. If you are quite happy with that kind of arrangement and with investors looking over your shoulder questioning what you're doing, then that might be a solution. Typically though, it's for large sums being raised, 150,000 to $1 million or $1 million plus. But if you need to have any introductions, come and see us. We can put you in contact with the right people. Very, very quickly, don't be afraid to seek help. Given the current economic situation over the last couple of years, we get clients coming to us far too late, and we don't have sufficient time before they're way over their head in debt, they're behind on repayments. If you've got any difficulties, come and have a chat to us. Even if you haven't got any difficulties and you're looking to grow your business or start a business, come and have a chat to us. We're there to listen and support. We're not going to make any judgments. So, in conclusion, as 20 minutes has cropped up so quick, fine. Right. Okay. So there is lots of free practical advice across Essex. Knowing where to go is difficult and time-consuming. We're here, we're free, we can provide up to 12 hours of free support, both through one-to-one advice and guidance, and also we run lots of free business workshops and skills courses to help upskill you as a business owner. That's probably, I say, drawing it very quickly to an end. Come and see us. Say we're down at the far end of the hall in the business support. We'd love to speak to you. I say we are free. Come and use us before any further support disappears if there isn't any more money coming from the central government.
Sorry,
thank you very much.
When you say it's free, it's actually funded by Essex County Council. So, because I know that sometimes that makes people nervous. So,
yeah.
Let's do business group goes, but
Yes.
Essex County Council fund the business support. So, thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Sorry it's overrun a little bit, but hopefully they'll get back on track indeed. Okay. Thank you.